Are any of the X-ray attacks in Mortal Kombat X actually survivable, or will all of them send you straight to the morgue?
From the sky, a beam of light. I am electric eye. I'm on the mission, the powers have called me away. I'm on the time to carry the colors again. My motivation, an old past one to defend. Doing the honor of coming back home again. No explanation will matter after we begin. I'm not the dark destroyer that's buried within. That's your vocation, and I'm my unfortunate friend. You will discover all while you're unable to win.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the War Room. I am Brian of Chamber of the Wraith, and I apologize that this did not come out in January. I kind of got caught up because I got a job now, and I'm trying to like reorganize my schedule a little bit. So I apologize for this coming out a few days later than it was supposed to, but I'm sure you guys understand. And without further ado, let's actually jump right into this fight, because this one I was actually kind of excited to do because I was like, that would actually be really cool. And it's pairing up one of my favorite DC characters out there, besides like Black Canary and Green Arrow. I love those two, but this guy's like probably top 10, no problem. And then I've also got probably my favorite female Mortal Kombat character out there. She is like top 3. I don't joke. It's just too bad that I never really got good with her in Mortal Kombat X. Hopefully she's back and not evil in MK11 and I play as her. That'd be super. Okay, well, let's get that out of the way. Ladies and gentlemen, from Bloodhaven and Gotham City, we have Nightwing, the prodigal son of Batman, versus General Sonya Blade, the Special Forces best. Let's pair these two up and see who wins in the War Room. Suddenly I got really, really hype. That's awesome. Now you guys probably know the drill by now, but since this is like the second episode, I don't blame you if you don't. So we're going to run through the 3 key steps that we're doing it. Step 1, we are going to feature one character. We're going to feature the first character and their background and try and focus on the main version that really kind of encompasses all of their really good, super cool abilities. And then we'll do the second character, and then we'll put them in the fight, assuming a couple of things. If they have no qualms about killing, they will kill. If they have qualms about killing, they won't. I'm abolishing the must-kill rule because, honestly, that's kind of silly. But also, you have to keep in mind that what I do here is put a probability here. I don't give an absolute certainty. I don't say like for definite that Superman would win in a fight between Superman versus Goku. That, by the way, is a fight that I will not be covering just yet because I don't have the stones to step into that debate. But what I would do is I would give like an approximate probability, because there's one factor that completely negates all of this, and that is who writes these things. Because in the immortal words of Marvel legend Stan Lee,
if I'm writing a story about the Thing from the Fantastic Four, and he gets into a big fight with Spider-Man, and millions of people out there say, who would win? Well, it depends on who I want to win if I'm writing the script. If I want Spider-Man to win, he'll win. If I want the Thing to win, he'll win. These are fictitious characters. The writer can do whatever he wants with them.
Yeah. So, without further ado, let's actually jump right into the first combatant, Nightwing. Quick little side note before I jump in. I mentioned Stan Lee specifically, not because the guy's a legend, but I actually got a picture with him at the Calgary Comic-Con about 3 years ago now. Holy shit, that's awesome. I will hopefully blur the lovely lady's face there, and you can actually see the recording process now through the reflection. How awesome. No, but seriously, this was freaking amazing and awesome, and yes, this is my bootleg Sub-Zero cosplay. Don't judge. We made it in like 45 minutes. But, moving on to Nightwing. Specifically, that'll work, Dick Grayson, because there's actually been several incarnations of the character. In fact, Nightwing was originally a title of a Kryptonian superhero that Superman himself bore, with Jimmy Olsen playing the Firebird, Nightwing's sidekick. And I believe Supergirl actually also kind of stepped into that role before. So, first off, we're not including Kryptonian Nightwings because that would just be unfair and ridiculously obscure. And second off, Damian Wayne was Nightwing in the Injustice universe, and much as Damian Wayne has kind of become better in the comics and in some of the movies and all that, fuck Injustice 2 Damian Wayne, okay? That dude's an absolute whiner. Joker should beat his ass with a crowbar. Anywho, Dick Grayson. Who is this guy? Well, if you don't know who Dick Grayson is, I'd be surprised, because outside of Batman and the Joker and Superman, Dick Grayson is actually one of the most iconic DC characters. You better know him as Robin. He was the first Robin who ended up leaving Batman for Bloodhaven and becoming his new identity in Nightwing. And he has served under the Teen Titans as both Robin and Nightwing, which is actually kind of cool because that means he's kind of walked in the footsteps of guys like Cyborg and Beast Boy. He's dated Starfire for the longest time. And Dick Grayson is just freaking awesome. And a little bit of background here, Dick Grayson is the youngest and last living member of the Flying Graysons. These were a traveling circus act who were known for their acrobatics and daring acts and stuff. Somebody put a hit on Dick Grayson's parents, that I believe that being either Tony Zuko, or Tony Zuko was the guy who pulled the trigger. But either way, Tony Zuko was involved, and both of his parents died right in front of him. Sound familiar? It should, because that is almost exactly the origin story of Batman. Except Batman's parents were super duper rich billionaire socialites, and Dick's were a bunch of circus acts. Literally. Not to besmirch the name Grayson or anything. Please don't hurt me, Dick. But Bruce Wayne was actually in the audience when this happened, and he adopted Dick Grayson and became his legal guardian, and then eventually trained him to be Robin. And his natural ability with gymnastics and everything, because of how he was raised with gymnast parents, makes him more agile than Batman. He actually says it himself in the comics at one point, and allows him to be one of the most acrobatic, non-metahuman people in the entirety of the DC lore. It's amazing how, like that is like his key thing, is his agility. And, second-handedly, his speed. Because I have the references here on my phone, I will make sure to put the references at the end of this video, as always. It's just easier if I have it on, if I have what I'm talking about on my phone, so that you know what I'm talking, so that I can actually almost script these things. But let's see. Dick Grayson was capable of, let's see, one of his biggest acrobatics feats that he has had actually is from a scene wherein, what is that scene? There it is. One scene here where he actually displays the ability to kind of parkour his way down things, bouncing back and forth from walls, kind of doing like a reverse wall jump in order to get down. He was also agile enough and fast enough to save a little girl from an exploding boat. And he was swift enough to actually catch a falling baby with a rope, which actually makes mention of a gadget called the decal cable, which actually slows the baby down and prevents it from snapping its back or neck. Peter, you've got to look into that. Another incredible and one thing to keep in mind about Dick Grayson is, as well as his agility, he is swift. He is able to jump into a moving car from a nearby van and take out 4 guys in like 3 panels. He's able to keep up with the likes of Deathstroke. Yeah, Deathstroke. you know, the guy who I covered in my last video who took on 7 Justice League members and practically tore them apart, this guy was able to keep up with Deathstroke. And his aim is also really, really good. He's known for using his ricocheting Escrima sticks, which bounce off walls and thwack people. But he also seems to I literally learned this as I was recording this video, that he has a weird penchant for throwing pool balls. Like, on 3 separate occasions, he's used pool balls to take out, like, skinheads and shit. That's awesome. And one time, when taking on Two-Face, he was actually able to, well, keep in mind that this was when he was actually playing the role of Batman for a while. I think Bruce Wayne, this was when, during the whole thing where Bruce's back was broken, or Bruce Wayne disappeared or something. I don't remember exactly what happened. But he throws a wingding that hits a Dent's coin, and if you look at it, it hit it horizontally, not vertically. Like, he didn't throw it, like, end over end like this, which would have had a higher probability of hitting the coin, because you know how coins are. They are kind of thin on the sides, like, well, this is kind of a bad example, but you get the idea. Kind of like the end of this charging port thing. Whereas if it was like this, it'd be easier to hit it kind of broadside. And keep in mind, it was flipping, so he had to take into account how quickly coins flip in midair when he was doing that throw, which is awesome sauce. He also has great willpower. Not quite as good as Batman, but it's good enough to withstand Scarecrow's fear toxin, and also words. And his fighting style is actually confirmed in a DC encyclopedia to be second only to Batman. Or I believe it was in kind of an explainy thingy. He even at one point broke Bane's back. Let that sink in for a second. Nightwing broke Bane's back. Holy shit! That is awesome. He is also agile and swift enough to dodge SWAT fire while it's nearby, and use his agility to, again, navigate through a bunch of pool balls, and was strong enough, when he was Batman, to stop an orca from trying to eat him. Now, this is interesting to note because we don't know exactly how strong orca bites are, because orca whales are it's pretty hard to measure the bite strength of an aquatic predator, much less one as big and terrifying as an orca. So there has been estimates thrown around that are as high as 19,000 psi, which would put an orca in the same territory as something like a T-Rex. But I have found on a forum called the Carnivora Forum, which, if you can actually imagine, is a forum about guys who like carnivora, you know, carnivorous mammals and such, that some people would rather take the estimation that it's about as strong as the bite of a saltwater crocodile, which is still huge. Saltwater crocodiles have some of the biggest bite forces of any animal alive today. And the fact that Nightwing was able to withstand that and not get crushed or chomped, or both, I guess, is incredible. Now, you'll notice that I'm going back and forth between saying him as Nightwing and as Batman, but that's because there was a point in time where Dick Grayson actually played the role of Batman for a while. We're not gonna make him Batman in this video. It's just that these feats that are as Batman show how good he is. He's good enough to wear the cowl, and goddamn, he is super good at that too. But we're gonna have him in his Nightwing suit, which means it comes with Nightwing gadgets. Which one of the best ones, which is kind of surprising, he has a full suit taser strong enough to be adjusted for guys like Blockbuster and Gorilla Grodd. And this comes with your assortment of wingdings, which are his answer to batarangs. He also has 2 Escrima sticks, which in some renditions are electrified, other times are just normal Escrima sticks. I'm actually going to play off of the Arkham City / Arkham Knight version of these Escrima sticks, in that they can ricochet and they are electric. So they're basically miniature cattle prods that can ricochet off walls, which is kind of freaking cool in my opinion. He also has gadgets ranging from a self-destructing mask to the decal cable that I mentioned earlier. But for the purposes of this fight, he will have his suit taser, which is mentioned to have a single use. He will have his miniature cattle prods of Eskrima sticks, some wingdings, and he will also use his grapnel gun as a sort of backclaw-like thing to hook opponents in. I was tempted to give him the knockout darts that he has in Arkham City in Arkham City anyway. I don't think he has them in Arkham Knight, but I decided kind of against that, just to kind of keep things nice and simple. So, with that said, let's jump into our next contestant, General Sonya Blade, specifically from the new timeline. Oh, one more thing, I just remembered. This Nightwing is going to be post-Crisis Nightwing. So, this is going to be from the Nightwing that comes in after the Crisis of Infinite Earths, which means, technically, Judas Contract Nightwing is out, because Judas Contract came out in 1984, whereas post-Crisis starts, I believe, in 1987. So, I'm just going to get that out of the way so that you kind of have a basic idea as to what I'm working with. And with that, let's jump right into Sonya Blade. Alright, so, Sonya Blade. She, if you are not familiar, was a Mortal Kombat character, is a Mortal Kombat character who has been in most of the games since the very first one in 1992. There's been a few games like Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance or Deception, one of the two 3D games that was not Armageddon, and Mortal Kombat 3, I believe. No, I think it was Mortal Kombat 2, actually, where she was not a playable character. Other than that, she's been in a lot of these games, and she's featured in a lot of Mortal Kombat extra stuff. Not in Mortal Kombat Conquest, which was a live-action show from the 90s, but she showed up in the animated show from the 90s. She showed up in both the Malibu and the most recent Mortal Kombat X comics. I say most recent because they haven't had a publication in like 3 years. And all sorts of things and stuff like that. Now, one thing to keep in mind with Sonya Blade is that I kind of see 3 Sonya Blades being possible candidates for the War Room. We have the old timeline Sonya Blade, which is from Mortal Kombat 1 to Mortal Kombat Armageddon. The second new timeline, or current timeline, for Mortal Kombat, which is Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat X, and whatever future Mortal Kombat games are going to come out, unless they do another reboot, and Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, which exists in this kind of weird limbo thing. I'm not going to be talking about old timeline Sonya Blade because, to my knowledge, there isn't like a whole lot of things that kind of had Sonya be prominent in, but I will also not be talking about Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe Sonya Blade because all of the things there, a lot, if not all of the fights in that game have been influenced by the combat rage, and like half of her fights in her chapter have her or the opponents under that effect of the rage, allowing Sonya Blade to take on Captain Marvel, rather Shazam, and Green Lantern. Fights that, realistically, I don't think Sonya Blade should be winning, but the game kind of does it for plot reasons. I could totally see her kicking Catwoman's ass, though, so there's that to keep in mind. So we're going to primarily focus on the new timeline, Mortal Kombat 9 and Mortal Kombat X. Whatever Mortal Kombat 11 is, because I'm recording and uploading this in February. It's until like June until the next game comes out. So, again, getting my phone out so I can keep an eye on my references to make sure everything's all well and good. In the first Mortal Kombat, in the Mortal Kombat reboot, I'm calling it Mortal Kombat 9, her chapter has her going against some really tough cookies. She fights Bihan, the first Sub-Zero, Raiden, although Raiden kind of holds back, so I'm not going to count this particular fight because in this fight it's implied that Raiden is actually holding back to kind of have Sonya calm the fuck down, let me be on your side. Kitana and Jade at the same time. I think this is one of the few fights where it's 2 versus 1, and to my knowledge it's the only one where a female character is going up against a 2v1 situation. And Kitana and Jade, by the way, are super scary. They're Shao Kahn's top assassins, and she manages to take care of these guys by herself. And then she also manages to take down Kano, although he kind of escapes through immunity because Shang Tsung shows up. It's like, no, there will no be killing outside of the tournament, which doesn't make any sense, but whatever, plot reasons. Then we fast forward to Mortal Kombat X, because she has had a lot of there's a lot of story stuff in between and all of this stuff. Young Sonya Blade, younger Sonya Blade, 20 years before the main plot of Mortal Kombat X kind of happens, where they're going after Shinnok's amulet and stuff. We have Sonya Blade takes on Scorpion, Revenant Sub-Zero, and Jax back to back. While Raiden is while Johnny Cage is at first distracted, then getting turned into a Revenant, and Raiden's trying to save his ass, and then she not only fights, but completely dominates Quan Chi when she wins. And by dominates, I mean she beats the piss out of this guy. Punches him super hard, shatters his jaw at one point, and then in a really awesome, poignant scene, because I despise Quan Chi and love Sonya Blade, she puts Quan Chi's legs apart and freaking curb stomps his nuts. It's like, yes, that is awesome, Sonya. And that was her 20 years before the kind of core plot. 20 years later, she is at the refugee camp hunting down Kano, kind of her arch enemy. And she finds Kano, beats him, and almost kills him. Johnny is the only one who really stops him here. To be fair, Sonya has had her fair share of losses too, or situations where she could not win. She has been taken down by and almost killed by Shinnok in Mortal Kombat X. She was kidnapped by a Tarkatan horde in Mortal Kombat 9 and had to be saved by Jax. And to my understanding, I don't remember exactly if there is a point later on in the Mortal Kombat X story where she gets her ass kicked by Sindel. If there is, I'll show it. If there's not, there'll be a note from me in the future as the editor telling me that I'm a stupid fucking idiot or something. So that's all that out of the way. So why are these opponents in particular important? Well, it's because Sonya has gone against assassins, cyborg smugglers, undead revenant warriors, and an arch sorcerer. Quan Chi, this is the big one. Quan Chi is probably her top opponent. It would have been Raiden if Raiden was kind of taking this fight seriously. Raiden wasn't. Raiden could have obliterated Sonya if he wanted to. He was just fighting her so that she would calm down and be level-headed, because in Mortal Kombat 9 she's kind of a hothead. But the Quan Chi fight is huge, because Quan Chi is not holding any bars here. I mean, outside of AI difficulty, whatever. Quan Chi in the story is not holding anything back. Quan Chi wants Johnny and Sonya dead and on his side. So he's trying to kill Sonya here. And not only does she win, she eventually dominates his pasty ass. Which is huge because, as we're going to get into in the final part where we kind of bash them together, I really think that Sonya Blade is some stiff competition for Nightwing. And that's not even counting her arsenal. Sonya Blade has a lethal arsenal of weapons, being a military gal. She has an energy weapon called the Energy Ring, which is a kind of a gauntlet thing, which allows her to fire a pink ring of energy as a main projectile. It looks like it's mainly designed to knock down and knock out opponents, not necessarily kill. So more of a neutralization weapon than anything. In Mortal Kombat X, she can also control an aerial drone, which has several key functions. In her demolition variation, it's used mainly to reload or fire her grenades. And it's also, or fire grenades. And it's also used in the Special Forces variation as an assist, with several functions like a shotgun blast, a homing blast, an electric blast, and a kamikaze mode. So, taking all of that into account, I'm going to be limiting a few things about her weapons. In the demolition variation, because I'm just going to kind of fuse them all together into one Super Sonya, basically. So some nerfs are in place here. In the demolition variation, she has 3 grenades that she can throw. And when she's out of grenades, she can reload. And she can kind of choose which grenade, what it's going to be on the fly. Is it going to be a shot grenade? Is it going to be a boom grenade? Those are kind of the 2 key functions. So, we're going to give her 2 reloads. We're going to give her 1 reload of... No, we're going to give her 2 reloads of the grenades. So she could, hypothetically, lob up to 9 grenades of whatever type that she wants. So she could throw 9 explosives, 9 shock, any combination of both, etc. But she can only reload twice, or alternatively, have her drone fire the grenades twice instead. If she runs out of those 9 grenades, she's out of grenades, she can't use them anymore. She will also have a limited supply of drones. So the reload function is not going to destroy the drones, but a kamikaze mode will. She will have 2 drones. If one goes boom, then it will be taken out of play. The drones will also have a limited fuel source, so they can pop in twice, meaning that if she's smart, which she is, she could potentially use her drones up to 4 times before she's out of drone usage. So, is that cool? Are we good? Are we done? Are we ready to go? Good. Now it's time to see what happens when you put Nightwing and Sonya Blade together in a room and have them fight. Ready? Let's check it out. Alright, big moments here, ladies and germs. Who's gonna win this fight? Well, that's kind of the wrong question to ask, and I'll tell you why. Remember last time how Stan Lee said this?
These are fictitious characters. The writer can do whatever he wants with them.
It's very true. And the reason for that is very important, because Batman. I'm serious. Batman is like the main reason why I implemented a probability rule, because if the writers wanted to, and the writers have actually done this before, they could have Batman take out some of the toughest members of the DC universe by himself. Case in point, Brave and the Bold, he took on and beat by himself motherfucking Darkseid. Let me say that again for you. Batman beat Darkseid in Batman the Brave and the Bold, which is basically just what happens when you let Batman be super crazy, ridiculously overpowered, and have it be like a cartoon marketing tool, as well as actually being a really decent show. If you haven't checked it out before, I highly recommend it. It's super cool, as long as you're cool with like Silver Age campiness, which I am. It's awesome. Anywho, back on track. Enough ranting about the Bat. Let's actually talk. Let's talk Sonya Blade versus Nightwing, because there is one more factor that we have to take into account here. This factor is not necessarily a huge one, but it's something to keep in mind. Where the hell are they going to fight? Because if I put this fight in Wayne Manor, Sonya Blade is at an inherent disadvantage. Granted, Sonya Blade would be able to kind of figure out the generals of Wayne Manor. Nightwing would know where all the booby traps are, so he could just flick those and be done. So we're going to take this fight somewhere else, somewhere more even, somewhere more fair. The refugee camp stage in Mortal Kombat X. Why there and not over in anywhere in the DC universe or in a generic place like a rooftop or something? Well, one, I wanted to really represent a stage from an actual universe, at least at some point during this show, so I figured I would actually do it in the second one. Secondly, the refugee camp is a pretty basic stage. It's obviously a refugee camp, but it's a military camp. So you have options here. You can bounce off of the APC. You can jump off the forklift. You could grab one of the weapons from the barrel and strike your opponent upside the head with it. These sorts of things, both of these characters, Nightwing and Sonya Blade, would be very familiar with already, using their environment to their advantage and being able to whoop some ass as a result. Thusly, this is actually the perfect place to put them, because not only does it represent at least somebody's sort of stage thing, but it's not going to skew too badly either way. Sure, Sonya Blade may have an inherent knowledge of where the weapons are, but Nightwing is smart enough to see where she's going and figure out what's there, and then use that as a potential counter. So the refugee camp is perfect for that. Plus, remember, Nightwing is the guy who, on 3 separate occasions, took out a group of guys with billiard balls. So I'm not worried about his resourcefulness here. So, who wins? Or, at the very least, who has the highest probability of winning? I actually need a drink of water. I'll let you guys think about it and comment who you think has the highest probability of winning and the probability that you think it is. Don't type 100% though. I understand that that's just egging some of you people onto typing 100% for one random person or the other, but if you're gonna do that, at least put that and your honest thoughts. Like, if you honestly think, say, just as an example, in this fight, Sonya Blade has an 80% chance of beating Nightwing. In my opinion, she doesn't, but we'll get to that after this. Just type your opinions and things down there. I'll be right back. I need to grab some water. I spilled a shit ton, didn't I? Well, at least this cup is cooler than Ajit Pie's. Ugh, excuse me. Anywho, so, who wins, or has the highest probability of winning, in my opinion? I'm gonna have to say Nightwing. But this was a tough call. It really feels like it could go either way. I honestly give, at the best of circumstances, that Nightwing has a 60% chance of beating Sonya Blade. So why do I think this? Well, Nightwing has been said to be second only to Batman in physical combat. But there are several characters in the DC universe who can not only keep up with, but have beaten Batman in hand-to-hand combat. Bronze Tiger, the Spider, Lady Shiva, Black Canary. Actually, I don't think Black Canary actually beat Batman in physical combat, but she definitely has the physical combat skills to be able to potentially do so. So there's a lot of martial artists that can really stand up to Batman and Nightwing, because Nightwing is, second to Batman. So with that in mind, Sonya Blade is tough competition. She took on 2 high-caliber ninja assassins by herself in the past. Granted, this is when she was younger, but still, she has that ability to do such a thing. And while she hasn't had any feats of no 2 versus 1 fights, because there are no 2v1 modes or there are no 2v2 or 2v1 modes in Mortal Kombat X, she makes up for that by taking out Quan Chi, a arch sorcerer necromancer guy with incredible magic abilities. And quite frankly, if they really decide to cut Quan Chi loose in the comics, I feel like with how much they hype out Quan Chi as being this super scary sorcerer who laughs at gods and serves an elder god and turns dudes into zombie puppet warriors, this guy is definitely one of the strongest magic users in the Mortal Kombat universe. And Sonya Blade not only beats him, but beats him. So it's really hard for me to go one side or the other, lifting my biases aside. Which, I mean, I have biases, obviously, but that's just because I like both of these characters. But because I like both of these characters, I can also kind of look at them as fair as I can. So, keep in mind, Nightwing wins with, I want to say, between a 55 and 60% chance. Like, it's honestly, in my opinion, pretty damn close. So, who do you guys want to see? Well, I would say that, but I actually already planned the next War Room. You're going to see that. Oops. But, who would you like to see in the War Room after the one which I'm going to reveal the characters right at the end of this? Because, here's the thing. The next War Room has yet another DC character. Alright? And that's 3 in a row. In my vocabulary, 3 in a row is almost too much. So, guys, if you guys watch this video to the end and want to suggest fighters, let me know. And don't suggest DC fighters, at least for this one, because I've done 3 DC fighters already. I would like to take a break from that universe for a little bit. So, that in mind, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to be awesome. And your next combatants will be announced now.